Hello there, I'm Nadia Azmi and this is Nightline. News making the headlines. Government dropped appeal in Allah use case as it was already policy, says Prime Minister. And MACC probes former senior minister, businessman, over 2.3 billion ringgit embezzlement. Good morning. A former senior minister and a prominent businessman with the title of Tan Sri are being investigated by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) in connection with alleged misappropriation of the country's funds with more than 2.3 billion ringgit. It is learned that the probe is related to the revelation of private documents by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists (ICIJ) over transactions carried out at offshore financial centres. Sources with knowledge of the investigation said the probe focuses on the purchase and ownership of shares of a listed company by a giant corporation. It is believed that the move was masterminded by the said former senior minister. It is learned that transactions in acquiring the shares is believed to be the cause of economic decline and weakening of the ringgit at the end of the 1990s. The misappropriation was done for the benefit of the individuals involved to be bailed out from suffering further losses. According to sources, investigators will also focus their probe on transactions for the sale of shares of the listed company. The probe will also look into the acquisition of assets by the Tan Sri businessman and the former senior minister, as well as their families, believed to be in the billions of ringgit, both in the country and abroad. The source also said that the MACC had recorded statements from 14 witnesses over the past few weeks in relation to documents in the Pandora Papers leak. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki confirmed that investigations under the MACC Act regarding the offence of misuse of power to obtain bribes and money laundering laws are ongoing. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim has stressed that the policy regarding the use of the word Allah was decided by the Conference of Rulers and the federal government at the time in 1986. As such, the Prime Minister stated the government would not change the existing policies where only non-Muslims in Sabah and Sarawak are allowed to use the term.
Tapi untuk Sabah dan Sarawak diputuskan membolehkan. Itu keputusan. Sejak 1986 diperakui dan diperkenan oleh raja-raja. Sebab itu dalam syuarat Jemaah Menteri, Saudara Mak Hassan pun ada, Saudara Fadlina pun ada. Saya menghubungi Tuanku Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Kebahaduri Yang Maha Mulia. Saya tanya, Jemaah Menteri buat keputusan peraku dan perkenan yang ada. Tak ubah. Tetapi kalau nak perkemaskan beberapa isu supaya jangan timbul pertikaian di mahkamah dan sebagainya, kita akan usulkan beberapa cadangan memperkemas keputusan itu.
Speaking to the media after inspecting the building of Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Agama Datuk Haji Hassan Sail in Rembau, Negeri Sembilan on Friday, Datuk Sri Anwar added that the federal government's decision to withdraw the appeal against High Court's ruling, which allowed the word Allah to be used by non-Muslims in publications for educational purposes in Sarawak, was done as it is already being practiced. The Prime Minister said while the Unity Federal Administration under his leadership is open to views and criticism, arguments over the matter should be made based on facts. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Anwar on Friday announced additional allocations to repair the boys' dormitory of Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Agama Datuk Haji Abu Hassan Sail, which caught fire on July 31st last year. The Prime Minister said the earlier allocation approved was close to 3 million ringgit, and with the addition, the total amount approved was 3.89 million ringgit.
Melihat keadaan asrama dan bumbung dan surau tentunya tidak mencukupi, dan saya akan minta bisa bincang dengan pengarah JKR supaya dapat, dan Kementerian Kewangan akan memberikan kelulusan khas supaya dipercepatkan.
The Prime Minister also announced additional allocations amounting to 310,000 ringgit to repair other facilities such as the teacher's room and the school's surau. Also present during the visit were Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Aminuddin Harun, Defence Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan and Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq. 3 contraflow or tidal flow lanes will be activated from July 3rd as an immediate measure to tackle traffic congestion woes in Kuala Lumpur. Transport Minister Anthony Loke Siu Fook said the contraflow will involve the route from Sungai Besi Toll Plaza to Best Raya Interchange, Jalan Maharaja Lela to Taman Connaught and Jalan Ampang from Ampang Point to Jalan Tun Razak. Luke said that the activation of the contraflow lanes is hoped to reduce traffic congestion, but the long-term solution to this problem is still under discussion.
Satu hari purata kenderaan yang bergerak di atas jalan-jalan di kawasan KL ini 6 juta kenderaan. Jadi boleh bayangkan betapa teruknya kesesakan di Kuala Lumpur. Pada waktu pagi puncak yang antara pukul 6 hingga pukul 9 pagi saja ada 2.2 juta kenderaan masuk ke Kuala Lumpur.
Luke said this to the media after chairing the Technical Committee on Traffic Congestion meeting in Putrajaya on Friday. He also said that only 15% or 1 million passengers utilize public transportation daily. This number is significantly far from the government's target of 40 to 60% public transport ridership. He noted that the Malaysian Institute of Road Safety Research will come out with a guideline to ensure the activation of the contraflow lanes will run smoothly and safely. Loke pointed out that the Kuala Lumpur City Hall has also been advised to be stricter in approving applications from contractors to temporarily close certain roads for whatever purpose, including construction. Speaking on another matter, Loke said its ministry is in the process of taking immediate action on the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission's MACC report on misconduct involving the staff of an agency under the ministry. The Transport Minister said the MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki had met him on Tuesday to discuss disciplinary cases which have not been resolved at his ministry.
Yang pentingnya ialah kita ambil tindakan daripada apa sahaja saranan daripada pihak SPRM. Itu telah saya berikan komitmen kepada pihak KP SPRM bahawa MOT akan memberikan kerjasama sepenuhnya.
As a result of the fruitful meeting, he instructed his ministry's Secretary General, Datuk Jana Santhiran Munayad, to ensure that every disciplinary case is acted upon immediately and to report back to MACC. When asked about the number of pending disciplinary cases, Loke said that it was an internal matter and there were also cases which had been resolved but had not been reported to the MACC. It was reported that Tan Sri Azam had disclosed that some government agencies ignored more than 500 reports of misconduct involving their staff, even though MACC had recommended action to be taken, including the Road Transport Department, JPJ, and the Royal Malaysia Police, PDRM. The Communications and Digital Ministry, KKD, will call up the organizer of the Coldplay concert, which will take place in November, to understand their ticketing system and procedures. Its Minister, Fahmi Fazil, said this followed complaints from people who had difficulty purchasing the tickets due to scalpers buying in bulk. He said the meeting would also discuss measures that can be taken by the organizer to ensure the same issue would not recur in the future and look into the existing legal provisions for KKD to take action. Previously, some netizens had called attention to the possibility of an insider monopolizing bulk purchases, perhaps with access to the ticketing system, thus urging authorities to investigate further and question those related to the event. Coldplay's Music of the Spheres World Tour Series concert is scheduled for November 22nd at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium, marking the band's first ever concert in Malaysia. Pulau Pinang government is sticking with its original plan to have its state assembly dissolved in June to make way for the state election. Its chief minister, Chow Kon Yeow, said it is in line with the decision of 6 states to dissolve their respective state legislative assemblies to pave way for the state polls.
Setiap negeri ada pertimbangan masing-masing sebab ada acara-acara kerajaan dan sebagainya. Namun di Pulau Pinang kita akan stick to the original plan, iaitu kedua minggu yang terakhir lah, sama ada minggu yang ketiga ataupun minggu yang keempat. Itu adalah kepastian.
It was reported that although the dissolution dates of the 6 state assemblies may differ, Pakatan Harapan, PH, its allies and Perikatan Nasional, PN, have agreed to simultaneous state polls. The Selangor State Assembly is set to automatically dissolve on June 26 and elections must be held within 60 days by August 26. The Kelantan State Assembly will automatically dissolve on June 28, Terengganu on July 1st, Negeri Sembilan on July 2nd, Kedah on July 4th and Pulau Pinang on August 2nd. Currently, Pulau Pinang, Selangor and Negeri Sembilan are under PH, while Terengganu, Kedah and Kelantan are under the PN coalition. Women should be included in decision-making processes related to climate adaptation and mitigation, as they are also disproportionately impacted by climate change. Pahang Regent Tengku Hassanal Ibrahim Alam Shah said women's voices should be heard at all stages of decision-making, from planning to implementation level.
It's important to ensure that women have access to healthcare, including reproductive healthcare, and that their health needs are taken into account in climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts. By addressing the gender-specific impacts of all climate change, we can create a more equitable and sustainable future for all.
Tengku Hassanal said this in his speech at the 30th edition of the Associated Country Women of the World ACWW Triennial World Conference in Putrajaya on Friday. The event was graced by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria and Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Tengku Hassanal said that ACWW had highlighted that climate change could have a significant impact, especially on women's health, particularly where natural disasters are frequent and severe. Therefore, he said addressing the gender-specific impacts of climate change would create a more equitable and sustainable solution for all. Media Prima Berhad MPB feted more than 4,000 corporate clients, partners and other guests during its first Hari Raya Aidilfitri open house in 4 years. The event from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. was held to show appreciation to its guests for their continuous support towards the media conglomerate.
Alhamdulillah, saya bersyukur kerana boleh host Hari Raya Open House pada hari ini. Sudah 4 tahun kami tak melaksanakan open house. Alhamdulillah tahun ini berjaya juga. Didatangi oleh semua pelanggan-pelanggan dan juga partner-partner kami di Media Prima.
Among the VIP guests were Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari and Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs Datuk Dr. Muhammad Naim Mokhtar. They were welcomed by the conglomerate's top management, including MPB Group Chairman Datuk Seri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junaid, New Straits Times Press Berhad Group Managing Editor and Berita Harian Group Editor Datuk Ahmad Zaini Kamaruzaman, New Straits Times Group Editor Farah Naz Karim and Harian Metro Group Editor Hussein Jahid. After this breather, over a dozen killed as floods terrorize Italy. Welcome back. Thailand's Progressive Move Forward Party on Friday said potential coalition partners need not support its controversial stance on amending the royal insult law as it seeks to win the backing of other parties to form a government. Move Forward, led by Pita Lim Jaroen Rat, won the most seats in the lower house in this week's election, riding on a wave of youth support for policies like undoing business monopolies and amending the strict lese majesty law, known as Article 112 of the Criminal Code. Senior Move Forward Party member Surikanya Tansakun said it is not a requirement for joining the government, but if parties agree with them on Article 112, they are willing to include it in the agreement. A coalition agreement is expected to be announced on Monday. The lese majesty law prescribes up to 15 years of jail for perceived offences against the monarchy, which many Thais consider sacrosanct. Prominent Cambodian opposition figure Sam Rainsy on Friday denounced the upcoming general election as a fake and sham after the country's sole opposition party was disqualified from the race this week. Speaking at an event in the Indonesian capital, Rainsy said July's poll will be a fake and sham election for the sole reason that there will be no opposition. Rainsy also urged democratic countries not to recognise the legitimacy of the Cambodian election and long-serving Prime Minister Hun Sen. Earlier this week, the ruling Cambodian People's Party said that the election would be free and fair, adding that more than 10 other parties had registered. The Candlelight Party was disqualified by the Election Commission on Monday over what the poll body said was failure to submit proper registration documents, a move critics have said threatens to undermine democracy and political freedoms in the Southeast Asian country. The death toll from floods that have devastated the Emilia-Romagna region in Italy rose to 14 on Friday as rescue workers continue their rescue operations in the country's worst flooding conditions in a century. Authorities in Ravenna ordered the immediate evacuation of 2 small towns and issued an extremely urgent call for residents to reduce their movements to a minimum in the region, which was still subject to a red weather alert. An estimated 20,000 people have been left homeless in the natural disaster in the northern region, with as many as 300 landslides reported, 23 overflowing rivers, some 400 roads damaged or destroyed, and 42 flooded municipalities. The downpour, which saw half a year's rainfall in just 36 hours, caused billions of euros worth of damage and prompted questions nationally as to why more is not being done in terms of climate change mitigation. Malaysia through to Sudirman Cup semis to face South Korea. Sports when we come back. We're back with sports. Badminton, the 2023 Sudirman Cup. World champions Aaron Chia So Wei Yik delivered the winning point to lead Malaysia into the semi-finals after beating Denmark 3-1 in Suzhou, China. Aaron Wei Yik put up a confident show to beat Kim Estrup, Anders Skarup Rasmussen 21-17, 21-16 on Friday. Earlier, mixed doubles pair Chen Tang-ji, Toh Yi-wei justified the fate of the selectors when they handed Malaysia the first point after coming from an opening match setback to beat Matthias Christensen, Alexandra Perret 15-21, 21-14, 21-7. The match between Li Zijia and Victor Axelsen ended in an anti-climax fashion when the latter limped out with a hamstring injury. The world #1 conceded a walkover at 4-4 to hand Malaysia a 2-0 lead. Goh Jin Wei had a fighting chance to wrap up the tie with a 3-0 win, but she blundered with a costly mistake in the deciding game and went down 14-21, 21-15, 19-21 to Mia Blichfeld. Malaysia will take on second seed South Korea in the last 4 on Saturday at 10 a.m. It is only the third time that Malaysia are through to the semi-finals of the Sudirman Cup. The last time they made it to the last 4 was at the 2009 and 2021 editions. On to football, the 2023 Super League. 3 matches were played on Friday night. Sabah were held to a 2-2 draw by Terengganu, while Kedah recorded a convincing 5-0 win over Kelantan. At the Sarawak Street Stadium, visitors Johor Darul Takzim JDT continued their winning ways, trouncing Kuching City 4-0. Argentinian striker Fernando Martin Forestieri opened accounts and scored the first 2 goals in the 4th and the 36th minute to give JDT a 2-0 lead over Kuching City. Bergson Gustavo Silveira de Silva then made it 3-0 in the 70th minute before Juan Muniz Gallego scored 3 minutes later, putting victory virtually beyond the hosts. With the win, JDT remains at the top of the Super League with 33 points after 11 matches, while Kuching City with only 4 points. JDT's next game will be against Pahang at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium. Still to come, body of man found with 4 gunshot wounds to the head. Welcome back. Sarawak Police recorded its biggest drug bust this year with the seizure of 1.89 million ringgit worth of methamphetamine or shabu following the arrest of an 18-year-old local man. Police from the State Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department said the suspect was arrested during a raid at a condominium in Batu Kawa at about 1:30 p.m. on Thursday. According to Sarawak Police Commissioner Datuk Muhammad Azman Ahmad Sapri, during the raid, police found more than 52.5 kilograms of shabu, which were packed inside Chinese tea packets. Initial investigations revealed that the suspect, who is unemployed, had been selling the drugs since last month. It is believed that the suspect received the drugs through courier services from drug syndicates in the peninsula to be sold in Kuching and other nearby districts. The suspect, who does not have any previous criminal record, tested negative for drugs and is currently under remand until May 25th for investigation. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 for drug trafficking. A man was found dead near the Sungai Jarum police station in Kuala Langat late Thursday night with 4 gunshot wounds to the head. Kuala Langat District Police Chief Superintendent Ahmad Ridwan Muhammad Noor alias Saleh said they received a report about the incident at 11:30 p.m. A volunteer policeman on sentry duty had reported hearing several loud explosions near the police station. After heading towards the source of the noise, he saw a bleeding man on the ground. A medical officer from the Teluk Panglima Garang Clinic confirmed the victim's death at the scene. Forensics officers located 5 bullet casings near the scene of the crime, and checks on the body showed 4 gunshot wounds to the head. The victim was a 39-year-old man with 13 prior criminal offences. The case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder, and efforts are underway to identify the suspect involved, while the police have advised the public not to speculate on the matter, which could disrupt police investigations. In Terengganu, 2 passengers were killed while 23 others were injured after the tour bus they were travelling in crashed at East Coast Highway 2 near Arjil, Bukit Besi on Friday morning. According to the State Fire and Rescue Department, the incident occurred when the bus carrying 30 passengers had lost control before it veered into the opposite lane. In the 5:20 a.m. incident, a female passenger identified as Tan Po Hua, aged 42, died at the scene due to severe injuries to her head and body, while her brother-in-law, 44-year-old Chu Chia Tan, who sustained severe injuries to his chest, was pronounced dead while receiving treatment at the Dungun Hospital Emergency Unit. District Police Chief Superintendent Baharuddin Abdullah said initial investigations found that the bus was heading from Tampin Negeri Sembilan to Jetty Taman Tamadun Islam Kuala Terengganu to go to Pulau Redang. The accident was believed to have occurred after the bus lost control and skidded to the right and hit the guardrail before entering the opposite lane. He also confirmed that a passenger, an 8-year-old girl, suffered severe injuries, while 22 other victims, including the 26-year-old bus driver, were sent to Dungun Hospital and Hulu Terengganu Hospital for treatment. The bodies of both victims were taken to the Dungun Hospital Forensic Unit, and the case is being investigated under the Road Transport Act 1987. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at the wreck of the ill-fated Titanic ocean liner, which has now been visualized in full for the first time as part of what researchers say is the largest underwater scanning project in history. You have been with me, Nadia Azmi, for the past half an hour. Stay safe, everyone.